Hello and welcome, I'm Chris and this is the Hair Tutorial channel, and on this week's video I'm going to be doing two types of graduation to form a disconnected graduated bob. This is really super fun to do, and again I have to say a massive thank you to Yo Scissors for sponsoring this video, and a massive thank you to Oka Sakura Scissors for sponsoring this video and letting me try out their fantastic scissors on this haircut. And don't forget, if you want weekly tutorials on everything hair, from cutting, colouring to hair up, then like, subscribe and hit that notification button. Okay, so I've started by taking a side parting and we're going to concentrate on the right hand side. This is going to be my longest side to begin with, and again, once you've seen the cut, you might decide actually that you want to start the haircut at the back. Again, like anything, it's totally up to you where you start. And I've taken a section to about 1 finger depth to just behind the ear, and we're going to elevate this section straight out of the head, and then we're going to angle our fingers down towards the floor. I'm still pulling the section straight out from the head, and the reason I'm angling my fingers down is this is going to help cause even more graduation. And this is our guide, so spend a minute and just see if you've got that to sort of the right length. So now I'm taking another section. I'm going to bring this section down to my previous section, so it's now not coming straight out the head, it's coming down to my previous, and again turn my fingers down towards the floor. And this is going to start to build our line of graduation, and I am simply going to continue doing that all the way up the head, so everything's going to come back to this first section that I pulled out and bevel my fingers down towards the floor. Now when I come to the very front, I'm actually going to leave a longer piece out. I want a disconnected piece and just cut that at the very end. So now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Okay, so the other side done. Don't worry about the front section. Again, it's a disconnected piece. We're also going to disconnect another piece now. So I'm going to take a piece from just behind. You can do this on both sides. You can do it on just one side. Again, it's entirely up to you. As you can see, I've sort of got a triangle on each side taken out with a piece in the middle left. Okay, and now we're going to come to cutting the back. So on the back, you can do two sorts of graduation here. You could do a classic graduation, or you could do a triangular graduation. So with a classic graduation, we're over directing it back to sort of our previous section, whereas with a triangular graduation, we're over directing everything back to the center. Now I'm going to pull this out to 45 degrees, break the section down just so that I can manage it and you can see it better as well. So I'm going just below the occipital bone. I'm pulling my section straight out, and then I'm angling my fingers to 45 degrees. And just following my line down. Now I'm going to take my top section, refine my guide, and just follow that all the way up. Okay, again, just pick a side, doesn't matter which, and I'm going to use this point as my pivot point. So again, I'm not coming sort of along this section, I'm using this as my central point and taking like a cake wedge slice, and now I'm going to over direct this section back to my middle section, follow my guide. Now in this section, I just find it easier, now that I've cut the guide in, I just find it easier to start at the top and work my way down. But again, it's personal choice. Okay, and we begin to build up our graduation. Now whether I'm doing triangular or classic graduation, it doesn't matter. The only difference is, if I'm doing classic, I'm still using that as my pivot point, and I'm taking this new section just back to my previous, not back to the middle. And this creates a softer, more rounded graduation. Whereas if I take everything back to the center, it creates more of a triangular graduation. Now, because I've left these pieces out, I think the triangular graduation is just going to work better with this haircut. Everything on this haircut is going to go back to my central point, which in a way makes it all nice and easy. Okay, and the same on the other side. Now when it comes to the other side, we're going to do exactly the same. So we're using that central point as our pivot point, bringing everything back to the middle. Okay, but this is where it can get a little bit tricky. Everybody sort of has a good side and a bad side when they're cutting. Okay, just be aware of it. We need to turn our fingers the other way. So on the left hand side of the head, our knuckles are at the bottom and we were creating a 45-degree angle. However, to do that on this side is going to be a lot harder. So you're going to turn your fingers around the other way. So your knuckles are at the top and your fingertips are creating the 45-degree. Now, when you're doing something like the triangular graduation, because everything's coming back to the middle, it's not so much of a problem. However, if you're doing the classic graduation, where you're just going back to the previous section, it does become harder if you don't turn your fingers around. So on this, you can actually get away with keeping your fingers how you were. However, just naturally, I just want to do it because that's the way I've been taught, and that's naturally sort of what I want to do. So again, just following our guide, pulling everything back to the center, bevel our fingers down towards the ground if you can. Okay, but just try not to turn your fingers towards you. And again, if ever you have to put your head down on a block, remember, if you put the head forward and you hold a 45-degree, when they bring their head up, it may not be a 45-degree. So just sort of take that into consideration when you're doing something like that. It's not just the angle that you're holding your fingers or pulling the section to, but it's also the angle you may have put the client's head at when you were cutting it. Okay, so just keep pivoting. Exactly the same on this side, but I've turned my fingers round the opposite way. Okay, so now you can see we've got sort of our general shape. We've got a disconnected piece obviously at the front, here and on the other side. So now this is really where I stop and sort of dry the cut. I've got it to sort of 90% of where I want it to be, but obviously the fine tuning, I prefer to do that when it's dry and I can just see how it's laying and whether it's working properly. So I'm going to take a minute, I'm just going to do a wrap dry on this, put a little product in it and have it lay all nice and flat and smooth, and then we'll come back and finish the cut off. Okay, so as you can see, we've done a nice blow dry on it and given it some smoothness. Just quickly run the straightening irons over it now as well. And now it's down to really sort of personalizing and sort of completing the haircut. You've sort of got a lot now to sort of work with. And really it's up to you to sort of decide how you want to sort of finish it off, texturize it, and use these long pieces. So I'm going to start by using my scissors, okay? And again, these are lovely scissors for doing this because they're not only great for precision cutting, but you know, for the point cutting and the finishing up and the sliding as well. They're really sort of versatile. I'm going to go around, I'm going to tidy up my hairline. Again, you could blunt cut this. You could just point cut it and feather it. You could even come up and go around the ear and leave a point if you want. Really, again, this is just where you make the cut your own and you really sort of stamp individualism on it. So again, when you're coming in and you're doing point cutting, the straighter you go into the hair, the less hair you move. The more of an angle you come in, the more weight you're going to remove from the haircut. Adversely, you could also just come in and do some slide cutting just to add some texture. You can also just come up using the wide tooth of my comb just to hold it. Again, just so we get sort of a natural fall. Just going to slide cut through this front piece, so it's still disconnected, but not such a harsh disconnection, a bit softer. Really nice with these fine tips, just to be able to get really close in. Okay, and same on the other side. I'm just going to tidy up the other side, then we're going to have another look at the disconnected pieces. Okay, so I'm nearly there. I've just got one more panel of my disconnection to go. I've already done it on the other side. Okay, so now it's just sort of, do I want to balance to this? Do I want to leave it longer? So I'm just going to use my slide cutting just to go around and just to finish that off. Okay, and then just sort of have a play, have a look. Again, this is all sort of down to personal taste, personal sort of style. Some people will like it shorter, some people will like it longer. Coming up and just slide cutting as well, just through here. It's disconnected, but at the same time, by doing this, we're just adding some connection to it. Very visual, very sort of personal sort of thing. So I'm just going to carry on here, just doing this until I'm sort of happy with it. And don't forget, if you've liked this video, smash that like button, subscribe button. All helps the channel grow.